Thank you for tuning into Literary Blend, a publishing podcast. I'm your host, Demi Michelle Schwartz. There's no perfect recipe for chasing a dream in the publishing industry, but I hope the conversations on this show give you the ingredients you need to bake yours into reality. So let's flip the page and get into this chapter of Literary Blend. Hi friends, welcome back to Literary Blend. Today's chapter is called, wait for it, we're waiting for it, because it's called Surviving Publishing's Long Wait Times. And joining me on the show to chat all about this is ZT Fairfax. Hi, Zack.
Hey, thanks for having me. Officially, for real this time.
Yeah, for real. Just for everyone listening who may not know, Zack was on earlier with Michelle Sanchez. They did an interlude with me and it was very fun, but I typically have the authors on by themselves first and then we can do a double up, but they made me break the rules, so we're fixing that.
Whoa, hey, whoa. Let's not point fingers here. It was Michelle. Michelle made you break the
Yeah.
rules. I was dragged along for the ride.
Yep, that's accurate. But that was super fun. And I'm really excited to have you back for your own episode. Or your own chapter, I should say. So to get started, I would love for you to share with everyone listening a little about yourself and your journey in publishing.
Yeah. Well, I'm ZT Fairfax. That's the author name because I think it looks better on the cover of a book than Zack does. Um, I started writing novels, I want to say 2023. And I was really inspired by John Green. And then I quickly realized that those books kind of aren't in the market anymore. So I pivoted to young adult horror. That's kind of where all my passion is right now. Novelist, short story writer, and very recently a poet, but I've seen some success there. I just like to dabble. I like to dabble. Oh, and I'm a professional waiter, which makes me really good for this topic because I'm really good at waiting. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a patient person, but I've gotten good at waiting because it's a necessary skill in publishing.
Absolutely. And we're going to be chatting more about that. I'm really excited you got into the poetry. I've been seeing that when you're posting online. I think that's super cool. So congrats on that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's something I probably 2 months ago would have told you I would never touch, but I've just kind of fallen in love with it, and I just really like the medium.
That's amazing. Yeah. Awesome. I definitely think it's fun as writers when we can explore different kinds of writing, whether that's poetry, short story. I'm a songwriter, so I have that side of it. I think it's really great to explore different kinds of writing and see what you might like because, as we'll talk about later, having other kinds of writing that you enjoy can help you during these long wait times, especially in traditional publishing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So let's start off by talking about why these wait times are so long. So, would you like to start?
Gosh, I wish I knew. um, I feel like that is just something that for newer writers, especially, you just don't realize how long waits in publishing are to be. Even though, if you listen to every publishing podcast imaginable, they all will tell you that it's just a very long wait. Every step of the process is just waiting a long time, and it's just getting worse, right? I mean, whether there's less editors or more writers, the longer it goes on, the longer the waits get. Um, I think it's just the industry. There's just a lot of waiting involved because there's a lot of reading involved and a lot of uh, when you get deeper into it, like when you get on submission and you start learning about those processes, you realize it's not just one person that you're waiting on anymore. Because when you're querying, you are waiting on most of the time one person to read your novel and make a decision there. But then when you get on sub, you're waiting for one person to read your novel and then take it to somebody else and they read it and then take it to somebody else and they make financial decisions and then they come back and do all this other stuff. It's just an innate part of the process. Waiting is just so ingrained in publishing. It's something you got to get used to. I'm a slow reader as is. I don't think I could ever get into the echelon of being an editor or an agent, just because I don't think I would ever finish any of the books. So I don't think everybody that is in that position is a speed reader either. It's just wait times are just something you can't get around in the industry.
Yeah, lots of great points. And Something I would like to highlight too is that the agents and the editors who are acquiring, their jobs are not just reading the clients or the manuscripts coming across their desks because the agents have clients that they're working with, and the editors have books that have already been picked up that they're working on. So it's the time that they have free that they're able to look at their query inbox or look at the submissions from agents. That's not what they're doing all day long. And so if you really think about it, like I have so much respect for agents and editors because they're probably spending so much time not during the workday evaluating submissions because that's the only time they have to do it. And so I think that if you keep that in mind, that they have other responsibilities and they're taking care of their clients and their current authors that they're working with, getting ready for publication. If you keep that in mind, I think it might make it a little bit easier to understand why it's taking so long because when you're in that position, like whenever you're signed by an agent, you become one of their priorities and that feels great. Like you're no longer waiting and waiting. Sure, you got to wait for your agent to read it, but it's not like you're waiting months and months and months for them to even look at your book. And whenever you're signed with a publisher and working with an editor, they're working directly with you and you're a priority for them. And so it's just a matter of surviving the wait period because once you get through that and start working through the different stages, then you have people championing you who are on your side, who are treating you like the priority as you deserve, but it just takes time to get there.
Yeah, and I will say the waiting feels different every stage that you like enter into. Like the waiting during querying is just so excruciating, right? Because it feels like you're waiting to start, and that time that you have. I think what we'll talk about it too is like that the time that you have for the waiting can be spent the same no matter what, or it should be spent the same way no matter what period or phase of your career you're in. But it still feels different every time because querying feels like you're waiting to start, and then if there's that buffer period between getting agented and going on sub, it feels like you're waiting forever to start again. And then when you get to the waiting of hearing back from editors, it feels like the waiting there is a lot easier, I would say. I guess it is for me. For some people, it's excruciating, but as well. But for me, it's been a lot easier to wait, and I think it's because you have a champion and you have somebody that you know uh, has already accepted you, and I think that kind of makes the waiting easier in and of itself. But yeah, I think it's just every period of waiting can feel a little bit different, but it can all be spent. The time can still be spent the same way, and I think it should be.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's okay to recognize yourself, like whatever stage you're at. If it feels different, that's normal because I definitely feel the same way. And it's great to have someone in your corner championing you, but no matter if you're just querying or if you're on submission, you still have your author friends who are going through the same thing. Whether they're in the trenches querying or on submission, they're different stages, but we're all waiting. And so this is where I feel like leaning on author friends and people you can trust is really important because I know that the social media thing can be difficult because we all want to share our journeys. I've been super quiet lately just for mental health reasons and just wanting to keep things quiet. But like if you're complaining, let's just say for example, like if you're complaining a lot on social media about how long things are taking, that's part of the business. So if you're a querying author and you're constantly complaining about how long it takes for an agent to read your full, that might be a little, concerning to people who may see that, who are agents and editors, because once you're signed, are you gonna be complaining constantly, waiting for your edits from your agent? Are you gonna be hounding your editor for your edits? So, I think it's just part of the process and recognizing too that having a group of people you can trust and you can privately text and message about these things is really great just so you're watching your reputation too, and not complaining a lot on social media about how long it's taken.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think social media or getting into the writing community is a great way to spend your time whether you're querying or on submission or waiting for edits or whatever. But I definitely agree that if it's negative energy you're putting out there, maybe just keep that in a private group because people are watching what you post on social
Yeah.
media more than you think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. So just be mindful of that. And I know it's frustrating sometimes, like you get in this space where you like start typing out a tweet and you're like, Actually, let's not. Let's not
Yeah.
put
Oh,
that
I've done that so many times. I know exactly what you're talking about. That one's for the
into the group
drafts.
chat."
Yeah.
So before you mentioned spending your time while waiting, the different things that you could be doing, they should be the same. So let's dig deeper into what some of those things are. How do you spend your time waiting other than just staring at the wall and hoping for a deal?
I mean, I know it's been said a million times, but the best advice ever is just to work on your next project. Just focus on your next thing. And I think I got really good at that while querying because I was a very anxious querier. I was a very fast and rapid querier. Um, Everybody queries differently. I know some people send out like 10 queries at a time and then they wait to hear back from all of them and they're very patient. I was not that way at all. I was like, I've got to get to 100 as fast as possible. I do not recommend doing this, by the way. I would I would do that and then I would get constant rejections and I would be like, okay, this project sucks, but I'm working on my next one. And I think that's the best way to spend your time when you're waiting, is just working on your next project. And that doesn't mean it has to be a novel. Mine for a long time was. I was just kind of pumping out novels and honing my craft while doing that. But now, with like short stories and poetry, that's how I've been spending a lot of my time recently. And I think that stems from, and people are going to hate me for saying this, but while being agented, you can kind of miss the being in the query trenches, because I feel like if you're on submission or you have an agent, that submission process, it kind of feels like the reins are taken away from you because you are allowing somebody else to sub on your behalf. And for somebody who was such an active querier, I could spend a lot of my free time looking for agents and sending out my 60th query, but now I can't do that. I don't have that ability to, but I will say I have replaced that addiction with subbing short stories and poetry because that is something that you can do. And it feels just like querying because you are sending out your work to people and they will get back to you and tell you, no, you're not good enough, or yes, you are good enough. And it feels the exact same way as querying did. So that hole in my heart, the absence of querying, has been filled with that submission process. Um, but other than feeling the same way I did while querying, I feel like poetry and short stories help you hone your craft in different ways, and they really help you. Um, like short stories, for example, really help you cut out the fat of your stories. And like novels can be bloated, your word counts can be bloated. Say you're up past 100,000 words and you need to be in that 80,000 word range for like young adult novels. Writing short stories can really help you refine your wordiness and get rid of all that bloat. And so, what I've been doing recently between finishing my last novel and sending it to my agent and trying to start this next one is writing all these short stories, and I can feel myself, my prose is strengthening. And then with poetry, I feel like you're so limited with the verbiage anyway, and that's really helping me refine and becoming a more creative writer. So I can't recommend enough, if you haven't tried it, some just start dabbling in short fiction. That's a great way to spend your time waiting. But if you don't want to do that, which is fine, be working on something, because sitting around and waiting is and not writing at all is not productive. But you got to just get in there and start working on your next thing.
Yeah, lots of perfect things. I'm like looking at my notes, like you said everything I wanted to say, so I'm like trying to think of something to add.
Just say
So
it
good.
again. Just say it again, but better. Say it better than I did.
No, that was so good. I do want to mention, based on like the magazine submissions and the anthology submissions with short stories, flash fiction, poetry, the wait times are generally much shorter. And so that's what I like about along with having the sense of control, because I feel the exact same way of like not being completely in control and wanting that, that's nice because typically you hear soon after the deadline. And so if you have several submissions out in different stages, like pretty much every month or multiple times a month, I'm getting responses from anthologies because I have so many submissions out. And it's nice to get those quick responses that are mostly acceptances, which is nice.
Hey, that is nice.
um, it's really nice to get that boost often and to see your work in print and to be reminded that, hey, I'm a good writer even when things are silent. And speaking to working on another book, I think that's super important, not only for surviving the wait times, but because you're going to need it eventually. And this is one of the things that I've always, like you, I've always worked on the next thing. I'm getting ready to start writing another one. I'm actively plotting another one at the same time, which is messing with my brain a little bit because this is the first time I've actively worked on two whips at the same time. I usually focus on one, but I love them both. Um, but, like, you're going to need it either way. Like, whether you have to query that again or whether you need another book ready for submission or whether you get a deal with your book on submission and the editor or the publisher comes back and says, like, "Hey, what else do you have?" You know, you can say, like, "While I've been waiting for months, like, I wrote this," and they could work that into a two-book deal or something. So, working on the next thing, no matter what stage you're at, is always gonna be beneficial because as authors, we want this to be a lifelong career. And part of that, a huge part of that, is writing more books. And so if you're not writing new books, you're not going to have new books to send out. And so that's just a nice habit to get into, recognizing that focusing less on the book that's out there because that's out of your control and focusing on your next project because at the time when you're plotting or drafting, that is completely in your control, and that's nice to have the creative process in your control as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also mentally it just helps to be focused on something other than the thing you're waiting on. And I mean, the honest truth is the thing you've written is not the best thing you've ever written, right? I think with a lot of new writers or seasoned writers, new writers especially can get in this mindset of I've written this one book and it's the greatest thing ever, and this is what's going to get me an agent. And if it doesn't, then I'm a failure at writing. And that's how I thought when I wrote my first book, and that thing is never seeing the light of day because it's horrible, right? And then the second one I wrote, I thought was even better, and it's still horrible. It's still garbage. And you get better as you go. Writing is a muscle, and you are and it's like there's a bunch of different muscles that you can work out. And there's your core, you'd say, is the novel, right? But then you can work out your different muscles, like your short story and your poetry, and they all strengthen you as a writer in different ways. But they just help you mentally uh, not stay so focused on the one thing you're waiting on because it might not work out. I think that's the hard truth that nobody wants to look at is that that thing that you wrote that you're waiting on, it might not be the one, right? Like if even if you're on submission, that might not be the thing that you might be waiting on everybody to come back and say no, and you don't want to be at the end of that wait time with nothing else. And I think so having that next book ready to go and getting it to your agent or getting it ready for the query trenches. Um, you should just never be waiting for that one thing to succeed because I feel like ultimately, even if that book does sell, you're you're kind of failing yourself because you can get that two book deal if you have another thing ready to go and they're excited about it. But if you don't have that next thing, then that's not really that opportunity's gone.
Yeah, and the other thing too is if that book does sell, you're gonna have to follow it up with something else. And I'm obviously not at this position yet, but I've heard from published authors that there's an intense stress with the sophomore novel because it's like, oh my gosh, like this one sold, my first one sold, it sold well, readers loved it, but what if the second was a flop? So I feel like no matter what stage you're at, especially if you're on submission, focusing on that next book because that could be the sophomore novel and you want it to perform as good or better than the first one. So that's just something to keep in mind too.
But you can't get there if you never write the sophomore novel. So what are you waiting on? What are you waiting on?
For sure. And the other thing I wanted to mention as well with the short stories and poetry and other kinds of writing that you can get accepted and published, I think that if you're actively doing this, it just makes you look good because I feel like nowadays there's more weight being put on to authors for promotion and to have strong social media presence and stuff like that. And if you're consistently publishing work, you're pretty much building a readership across different small presses and magazines. And ultimately, some of those readers could buy your book. And so, if you have a lot of publications and you're sharing that on social media and on your website, and acquisitions editors are checking you out online and they're saying, oh, wow, like this person isn't just waiting around for a deal. Like they're putting themselves out there and they're getting more publications and they're sharing that. Like that gives them a glimpse into how you would market your book and the audiences that you could reach with your book. And so I think just from a business standpoint, too, it could help you.
Oh yeah, and so when I got signed with my agent, she asked me a few questions about like how active I was in writing and if I had anything published, and I was like, no, I didn't have anything at the time. But that is something that as I have gotten acceptances, we have started to work into letters that we send editors, and then having that archive of all of my stuff that's been published on my own website. And you can look at the statistics too. Like people are coming to the website mainly from the my agency website. They like find my little author thing on my agency's website, and then they'll go there, and then I can see that they're going to publish works from there. And it's just something that you want to have, right? It looks nice. You don't have to have it, right? There's people who have gotten book deals and they've never been published anywhere, even in the most obscure little corners of the internet. They just are doing their own thing. But it is a nice thing to have. People that are curious, you are building that readership, which are things that can sell you as an author. And it shows that you aren't just a one and done author, that you um, and you can also flex your creative muscles and show that I don't just write this genre, I can write this one as well. I know there are some authors that have gotten agents from their short stories. They have published short stories, and then an agent has read it and reached out and been like, "Hey, can you write a novel?" Um, I don't think there's any negatives. There's definitely no negatives for doing that. It is like querying again, though. You will be waiting for to hear back. You'll get a lot more. In my case, you'll get a lot more rejections than you do acceptances, and so you do have to have that tough skin. But I mean, it's unlike querying in that you can be throwing a lot of different projects out there. It doesn't take you months to write a short story. And you can, I feel like there's just such a vast array of publications, whether they're just online only or in print. And a lot of the times you get those rights right back to you when you do get published. So there's no like fear of, I wrote this great thing and it's locked up forever. Um, but I think it's one of the best ways you can spend your time because you're not committing yourself to these massive projects that can take months or a year to finish. You're building up your resume, and it's just honestly, it's just a bunch of fun. It's
Yeah,
just
it
been
is
so
really
much
fun.
fun
It's also
to just.
addicting.
No, it is so addicting. It's one thing that I was missing querying, and now it's like I'm right back in it, and it helps me forget the thing I'm waiting on, which is
Yeah.
great. But at the same time, it's like I need to be writing my novel. I need to be working on my novel. But this thing just opened because now my algorithm on Twitter is just we're open to submissions.
I
We
know, I
close the
know.
submissions in
Mine
24
too.
hours. And it's like, okay, I'll bookmark this. Okay, I've got something that fits that. Oh, I don't have anything that fits that, but I would really like to write this thing. And it's so addicting.
Yeah,
It
no, it's
is,
super addicting.
yeah. Any day now, my agent is going to get back with me with edits for book two. And I'm going to be like, okay, can you please hold? I've got to submit this thing to Trash Bag Quarterly or whatever the heck comes up on my feed that I need to submit to for whatever reason that pays me no money and is online only. But I really want to do it because it does feel really good. It feels really good for somebody in the industry to tell you you're good enough, and then you get to see your work on the internet. That
Yeah,
it does feel good. It feels
yeah.
great.
Yeah, for sure. It's also really funny too because like I'm hardly on Facebook. I'm just on there just to post updates and stuff. But somehow, I guess from posting my own acceptances and things on there, I even trained my Facebook algorithm to show me submission open calls, and I'm like, I can't escape it no matter where I turn.
That sounds so dangerous. That sounds so dangerous.
Amazing. Well, this was such a fun chat. And before we get to your plot twist, I would love for you to share any final thoughts you have about surviving publishing's long wait times, especially for anyone listening who might be really struggling with this.
I think that first and foremost, I want to reiterate that waiting is just part of the game. It is built into the industry, and so wave away any delusions that you will be the unicorn that will not have to wait at all. It is part of the process. And agenting might come quick. Some people get agented really fast, but then they have to wait like 6 months. So just find some really good, healthy ways to fill that wait time. I highly encourage you to work on that next novel, and also to hone your skills and make writing the next novel easier. Dabble in some short stories, some poetry, and just have some fun with submissions, because you're going to burn yourself out if you are waiting and you're not doing anything during that wait time. And mentally, that's super unhealthy, to just be waiting, especially in an industry that you will also get a bunch of rejections. So if you're not actively distracting yourself with your next thing and you're like taking the full force of these rejections, it's going to make publishing suck really bad. So I would just find the what works for you. You might not like short stories or poetry or flash fiction or anything like that.
Then you can't hang out with us.
Yeah, then you can't. Well, then I'm never gonna follow you on Twitter. But no, just stay working, stay active, stay busy, because you have to do that to stay mentally healthy in this industry.
Amazing. Perfect notes to end on. Are you ready for your plot twist?
No, but I'm gonna be here for it anyway.
Because you don't have a choice.
Yeah, this is what I've been waiting for.
This one's so whack. I think this might be like one of the most whack ones. Are you ready to talk about the alphabet?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite topics. So this is perfect.
Are you ready to personify letters?
Oh my gosh, I had a dream about this last night. This is crazy.
So I'm gonna describe some letters, or some concepts or character traits, I guess you could say, and I would like you to pair them with a letter.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me. I'm gonna Google the alphabet just so I can have it in front of me visually.
Are you actually?
Yep.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Alphabet.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Like a prison lineup. Here we go.
So I want you to tell me which letter would be the villain that gets caught in a lie. Which letter would be the ghost that's been haunting a mansion for 100 years? And which two letters would be best friends that go on magical adventures together?
Okay. Okay, the villain caught in a lie is. I'm just drawn to S. It's S. It's so sneaky. It's so sneaky.
That's so good.
It's so slithery, and it would just looks like it would wiggle. It would, try to wiggle around. S is the sneaky liar. The one that's a ghost that's haunting
A mansion for 100 years.
a mansion for 100 years. G is too easy. We're not doing that. Oh, obviously the letter O. That thing is like that. That thing is Ghost Central. Put two of those bad boys together. Ooh. O is the ghost
That's funny.
that haunts the mansion. And what was the last one?
The letters that would be two best friends that go on magical adventures together.
There's a lot of candidates here. And I'm okay, so two of them? Two of them?
Yeah, like two characters, two letters.
Okay. Characters, I get it. I think lowercase I and lowercase J.
That's so specific. I need to know why.
They've got the little tittles on them, so they look like they have heads. They're kind of similar. One of them could be like the big brother, one of them could be like the little brother, or the big friend or the little friend. And they just look like they would get into some mischief together. I don't know. I think that, lowercase
so
I, lowercase
good.
J.
That's so good. Oh my god, that was so fun.
Thank you so much. I'm actually I knew that was coming already. I had a dream last night, and I had I and J in my head all the time. I was faking having to think about that because I just knew.
Amazing. That was so fun. Perfect. Amazing answers. I think it's hilarious you pulled up the alphabet. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
hey, yeah. Listener, pull up the alphabet on your phone right now. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
That's so funny. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Can you share with everybody where they can connect with you online?
Yes, thank you for having me again. I'm ZT Fairfax everywhere. That's FAIRFAX, ZTFairfax.com. That's just I've snagged the username on everything. So it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple where to find me. I'm usually on Twitter though, either complaining or I don't know, talking about writing. That's where you can find me.
Amazing. Thank you again for joining me. This was lots of fun.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And listeners, that's a wrap on this chapter with Zack, all about surviving publishing's long wait times. If you enjoyed our conversation, please consider leaving Literary Blend a review and giving it 5 stars to help others just like you discover it. Also, if you have friends in publishing you think would enjoy the show too, please pass it along to them. Thanks for listening, and until we flip to the next chapter, happy reading and writing.